This is your mountain dulcimer. Everybody see that? And grab my guitar pick here. Bear with me. The mountain dulcimer has a history that I'm told descends from the zither family, which is a German instrument. And it was brought over to America, I don't know, in the early 1800s or mid 1800s. And then it got very popular amongst the Pennsylvania Dutch. Moved into the Blue Ridge Mountain region, pretty soon the Ozark, and a lot of mountainous and rural type parts of America. It became an instrument a lot of people use for song accompaniment, voice accompaniment, and singing old songs and ballads. All right. Use here. I'll play you a song or two on this beautiful, beautiful instrument. First, just so you can hear it, I'll play a tune from an old Irish harpist. And do we have any Irish folks here tonight? Let's talk about them. Just kidding. So Turlough O'Carolan was a blind Irish harpist. That's, by harp, I mean a big Celtic harp. And he would play in exchange for room and board. And so as Marty was talking about the food pantry here and hungry people and the community and whatnot, he was a true sense of the troubadour, wandering minstrel, if you will. And but in exchange, you know, he wasn't looking for a handout. He'd play music for you. A lot of his melodies were named after people that he probably returned to over and over and over again. But if you like Irish music and you study the Irish melodic repertoire, you're going to come across a lot of his melodies. Just Google O'Carolan Irish music, and there's all kinds of great history about this guy. Anyways, I'm going to play one of his beautiful pieces. This is called Southwind, and then I'm going to sing a song on the dulcimer for you guys. Musical chairs. I'm going to bring this back here. Isn't that a beautiful sound? Yeah. All right, now I'm going to do a little singing with this. And while I'm setting this up, I'll tell you a little bit about this, what I'm going to do for you. This is a song off of a record I put out that's self-titled Dulcimer album. And my only shameless, ruthless sales pitch tonight is to remind you that all those records are in the next room when it's break time out on the table, along with my books and whatnot. So feel free to come and talk to me and look at some of that stuff during the break, okay? I'm going to free myself from this straitjacket that I'm in. All right. And I'm going to sing a song of love for you guys. Is anybody in love tonight? Is there anybody who'd like to be in love before the night is over? There's always some of those. And the pastor is here, you know. I mean, you never know. To turn this into a concert slash marriage ceremony. Well, I want to tell you a story about love. I'm going to sing you a story about loss. I'm going to sing you a story about love, loss, and then redemption, grace, and love again. And I'm going to sing it for you and tell you about it because it's not just unique to me. And not just unique to my then 6-year-old daughter who lost her mother to lung cancer. And the fellow who found himself a single father with a 6-year-old. Yeah, that's my story. We don't sign up for those things, you know, because you never think it's going to be you. Nah, that's not going to be me. No way. That's somebody else's story. That's not my story. No way. So it was one cold Wisconsin night, the kind of night that unfortunately we're moving towards soon. And that beautiful young lady in the front row over here to my right, that I call my wife, she was just a young gal then. And we were high school sweethearts. And my mom trusted me enough to loan me her Malibu. She had a 1984 Malibu, and that was a great car to have date night with, you know. So I picked her up and we went out and we had a great time. It was time to get her home, just as I promised her folks I would do, and on time. But it was a winter night and the snow was flying, and the snow had piled up at the intersections, and there we were at 76 and Grand Tosa in Milwaukee, where we lived. But by the good grace of God, I think personally, for some reason, that night she refused to put on her seatbelt. And to all the young folks here tonight, listen to your mom and dad when they say put on your safety belt. Those were different times. You remember when I was a kid, we'd go over to Grandpa and Grandma's every weekend and we'd fall asleep on the back seat going home. But times are different now. There's bells and whistles that ring and the car won't start. You don't put that doggone safety belt on. You can't get away with it anymore. Back then we could. But she didn't put her safety belt on. And we went back and forth, and come on, please put on your seatbelt. No, I don't want to. It's freezing cold outside and I want to be right next to you. And so what's a young guy to do when it's beautiful girl sitting next to him and, hunkers right next to him, puts her arm around him and, man, you try to say no to that. Let's see how well you handle it. And I had a great big winter parka on. You know what that is, right? A warm down, fluffy parka. And there we were at 76 in Grand Tosa. I had a green light, doing the speed limit. Somebody else was supposed to have a red light, doing about 40, 45 miles an hour. T-boned her side of the car, threw her against me. My head cracked the window, ruptured a disc in my back. But we both walked out. And when you looked at that car, especially when the insurance company said it's declared a total wreck, you wouldn't have thought anybody walked out of that car. She walked out without a scratch. Thank God. A few weeks later, we were talking, and I said, how did that feel when that car hit you and it threw you against me? She said, it felt like I was hitting a pillow because you had that big down jacket on and it just softened the blow. I said, I wish I could have said that. Well, the window next to me wearing a parka, you know. But I did score major points that night because I said, baby, I'll be your parka anytime. Then life went on. We weren't the marrying kind out of high school, not like our parents' generation. That was our parents' generation, a job in the factory, get married out of high school, have a family. That wasn't us. We were, you know, we were the generation of the late 80s, and we would go out and conquer the world and see the world, figure out what we wanted to do with ourselves, go off to college, do whatever, but no, not settle down. So we went our separate ways. I got married, had a kid. You heard what happened. And then one day, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and he says, Lil Rev, I'm not worried about you. He said, what you've been through, nobody should have to go through. He said, but you are a strong man. You're a man of faith, and you got a great support network around you, family, friends, your congregation. He said, you'll be okay. I'm not worried about you. He said, besides, you're a pretty handsome dude. I wasn't used to fellows telling me that, you know, but he told me that, and nevertheless, I don't know, how do you take that in that moment when your heart is broken, you know? But he said, God gives you what you need when you need it most. And I didn't know that I was the most deserving in the room. But it wasn't that long after that that I bumped into that sweet thing. And you know what? Initially it wasn't, okay, you know, there's my old sweetheart, you know, how can we get back together? It wasn't like that at all. In fact, I was at a concert. She didn't even know I was going to be playing there. And she came running up after my set at a harmonica festival, and she did something that I hadn't seen a girl do since third grade on the playground. You know what she did? She went. And I said, Jenny? She said, Rev? And she was just as beautiful as the last time I saw her. I couldn't believe it. So we met for coffee. Then we met for coffee again, and again, and again, and again. And then one day I said these words. Now, right about now, you're thinking, Little Rev, this is TMI. Too much information. Get on with the song already, right? It's coming. It's coming. So there we are having coffee, and I said, man, our timing is terrible. You know, my heart is broken. I'm betwixt and between. My daughter, I couldn't even get her to go into school. She'd cling to my leg, screaming and crying. Separation anxiety after losing her mother. It was a night. Every day was a different nightmare. You know, and the daughter of a heroic Milwaukee firefighter. She is. She's the daughter of a heroic Milwaukee firefighter, Bill McBain. Look him up. He was a guy who would run in when everybody else would run out. 2 times Purple Heart Vietnam. One of the great Americans, you know, that served their community and their country. And I said, boy, you're the daughter of a firefighter, aren't you? Because you're running into a burning building. When all the other ladies would run away. She said, without even blinking an eye, you guys, this is what she said. I already lost you once. I don't want to lose you again. I know. At the end of every row, there is a tissue box. Those are there for a reason. Not just because in service we might have the sniffles sometimes, but, you know, because we're moved emotionally as human beings. And we should be. Yeah, we should be. So, I think you can figure out the rest of the story. But let me add one last thing before I sing this song that those moments inspired. She said, you remember when we had that car accident all those years ago? I said, how could I forget? I still live with, you know, a low back issue that sometimes reminds me of that day. For the most part, I think I've gotten over it. But yeah, she goes, well, you remember how I told you that it felt like I was hitting a pillow when I got thrown against you? I said, yeah. And you said, baby, I'll be your pillow anytime? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, guess what? I said, what? She said, now it's my turn to be the pillow. And now I think let's just be honest, I've got overactive machismo genes in my DNA, okay? Oh, and it sometimes gets me into trouble, but I'm really a good guy, really a good guy. And but there I am in the coffee house, tears falling down. And my buddy was right. God gives you what you need when you need it most. At least that's the way it feels for me. And then this song. Once when we were very young, girl, you said I was the one. Then the merry breezes blew, cast me far away from you. But love is like a pillow, rest your head there but for a while, and it'll bend like a willow. Ain't we both done rode so many old miles? And in the years since I wrote this song, in towns like Omaha, Nebraska, or Huntington Beach, California, or a dozen other places, folks have come up to me and say, Lil Rev, you see that gentleman sitting back there? We got reconnected at our 50th high school reunion. I said, 50th? Are you kidding me? Do they even have those? She said, yes, they do, thank God. She said, Lil Rev, I can relate to your story, because mine's not that unfamiliar. Mine is very similar, you understand. Then one day you came back home, found us sad and all alone. Yes, my daughter said to me, Dad, she's an angel, can't you see? But love is like a pillow, rest your head there but for a while, and it'll bend like a willow. Ain't we both done rode so many old miles? And this is what I said when I finally figured it out. She was right. When she said, I already lost you once, I want to lose you again. And all them voices all around me, Pastor Marty, they were all chiming in. They were all had something to say, you know, because that's life, right? They're all like, Lil Rev, be careful, you're moving too fast. This is a mistake, Lil Rev. You just lost your life. But see, what they didn't realize is that I didn't have any unfinished business. I treated my first wife with love and respect. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. Was I sad? Yes, I was very sad. But I wasn't going to let this one get away. And in fact, my daughter seemed to think that this was the angel sent by her very mother. Figure that one out when a 6-year-old says that. Oh, yeah. If you give your heart to me, I'll guard it oh so tenderly. I'll guard it with my very soul. Treasure it as we grow. Now here's your part, you can sing it. All you tough guys too can sing along. Ready? But love is like a pillow, rest your head there but for a while, and it'll bend like a willow. Ain't we both done rode so many old miles? Do it again. But love is like a pillow, rest your head there but for a while, and it'll bend like a willow. Ain't we both done rode many old miles? and in a crazy, crazy world. What more could we hope for but then the grace, and the gratitude, and the faith that come from good love? Good love. Oh yeah. I admit I did have a moment when I thought, I think I'll be alone and it'll just be my daughter and I for forever. Yeah, I think I'll just crawl in a hole, because that's how you feel when you lose somebody. But the moral of the story, two of them. One, God forbid if you should ever be Lil Rev and lose your partner long before you ever thought you would. Don't let nobody tell you when you're ready to love. Only you know that. Follow your heart, follow your gut. Only you know that. Nobody gets to tell you that. I made the right decision. Moral number two. Here it comes. You ready for it? You ready for it? You thought this was just going to be a concert. You didn't know it was going to be a sermon, did you? Sorry. Here it is. God bless the strong women of this world. God bless the strong women of this world who can step in and hold space, because that ain't easy. No, that ain't easy. Walking into a ready-made family that's all messed up. Welcome to the real world. Welcome to our reality show. Yeah, God bless the strong women of this world who can walk in, hold space, and do the one thing that those two people needed most, just love, even when it's tough. Oh yeah, I learned some mighty good lessons from that gal right there. Little did I know all those years earlier, when I was the pillow during the car accident, what God had in store. Man.